October 2020, and I'm joined by Mr. Jaison Midzi from the Zimbabwe People's Party. How are you, sir?
Hello, Mr. Gambaku. How are you? I'm very fine, and everyone is good in the Zimbabwe People's Party.
Fantastic. So we've been talking a lot about the by-elections. We even brought your candidates here last week. And there was suddenly an announcement that these by-elections have been suspended. How are you feeling about that?
Yeah, first and foremost, I would like to say yes to our party and to the candidates who were preparing. It was more of a setback because they were looking forward to the by-elections. They'd done all their work and they were ready for them. But anyway, we cannot be seen as a party to be going against issues of public policy and public safety.
Okay, so do you agree that holding by-elections in constituencies was going to cause a national health emergency?
Definitely, yes. Looking at the political terrain in Zimbabwe, the way people campaign, they do these mass gatherings or the rallies. So in themselves, the rallies are an issue that affects people's safety, especially in as far as COVID-19 is concerned.
Okay, so can you please walk us through what is likely to happen between now and the time when the by-elections are going to be held?
I think from the party's point of view, we are going to continue preparing for the by-elections. We are also going to continue working with the communities because our motto as Zimbabwe People's Party is not just to focus on elections. Elections are 2% of what we do in the party. With 98% community engagements. That's what we are doing at the moment. But at the same time, what will happen is that if the COVID is declared finished by the government, they will be compelled by law or by our constitution to announce the date of the election, maybe within 90 days. So we will all be waiting for that.
Okay. So as a party, what have you been doing now in preparation for these by-elections, and how has this affected you, the change which was announced?
On a positive note, I can say that it's okay that they announced the delay in the by-elections because there are some narratives that we need to push in the populace, in the general populace. We also want to push our agenda in the way politics is run in the country. Agenda number one, we are saying no to toy-toying because toy-toy results in violence. Toy-toy results in hate language. We are also saying no to rallies, those mass gatherings, because they are a menace to business. The amount of business which is lost when 10,000 people are gathered in a stadium, or let's say ED or Chamisa or ZPP is coming, and the whole town is at a standstill because there is a political party rally. It's a lot. It affects our economy negatively. So as ZPP, we are saying, let's declare no toy-toy, no rallies. Those who want to be voted should go to the people, door knock, door to door, and talk to the people and give their promises so that they can be held accountable, so that our leaders can learn to approach people, can learn to talk to people in their houses, not just lie to people in a public rally and then disappear and then come back in the next election. So from history, we've seen that toy-toy has resulted in violence, intra-party and inter-party. You have seen messy violence in ZANU-PF primary elections and also in MDC primary elections. So the issue of toy-toy is not something we are going for. It's not something for this century we are living in.
Okay, but ZANU-PF has been continuing with their preparations for these elections. They are holding gatherings, they are electing their candidates. Is that not unfair to other political parties?
ZANU-PF has not declared, he has not informed other candidates to stop preparing for the elections. Campaigning is another issue. Preparing for the elections is another issue. Every political party is preparing for the by-elections, awaiting the date. Them doing their primary elections, as long as they are conforming with the COVID guidelines, it's fair and fine. If they are not conforming with the COVID guidelines, then the long arm of the law should catch up with them. That is not within us to check on that. The police are there in Zimbabwe to ensure that COVID-19 guidelines are being followed by anyone who plans a mass gathering. Us, we are also preparing. No one has told us to stop preparing for the by-elections, even though the date is not announced. But according to ZEC, there is a date that people should start campaigning. Campaigning has not started for the by-elections, but preparations are an issue of every day for any political party. We have not stopped. ZANU has not stopped. MDC has not stopped. Everyone is preparing.
Okay, so if the MDC or the MDC Alliance was to start doing their own primary elections, the internal process, do you think they won't get a beating from the police?
I don't think they'll get a beating because recently all the MDC formations, they did their anniversary celebrations and no one was beaten. So, and they even passed the inflammatory statements where Mr. Chamisa said an election will never be held if there is no MDC in those elections. Those were inflammatory statements and misleading the nations. But nothing happened to him. They were not chased because they were doing a mass gathering to celebrate their anniversary. So I don't see anyone being beaten for doing their preparations for any election that might come in due course.
Okay, so you don't think Idi Mnangagwa could be using the by-elections or the COVID to avoid by-elections and disadvantage other parties?
I can say Idi Mnangagwa is disadvantaged by COVID himself because looking at the chaos in the MDC, Idi Mnangagwa would be counting himself lucky if those elections were done today because it gives him a remote chance of winning them. So the COVID issue is affecting everybody. ZANU, Zimbabwe People's Party, MDC, and other political parties. We are all being affected by COVID. So there is no one we can point fingers at to say it's favoring you or it's favoring me. Come what may, those by-elections will have to be held one day. The longer COVID takes, the better or the more disadvantaged ZANU becomes because we are preparing and we are getting ready and we are getting a good response.
Okay. Countries like the United States of America, South Africa, Zambia, they are preparing for their elections. In fact, the USA is going to be having their election in less than a month. What makes Zimbabwe so different that we have to postpone these kind of elections?
We are 100% different. Mr. Gababu. Yeah. Our health system cannot cope with an outbreak. America can deal with an outbreak. Their health system is functional and is well funded. Our health system is dysfunctional, is at 6s and 7s, is not well funded. There is nothing working in these hospitals. And let me inform you that there is really nothing working in these hospitals. The manpower is not there because they are not well remunerated. They might be there physically, but professionally they are not there, and they are not up to the task. The buildings themselves, they are dilapidated. Equipment is nowhere to be found. It's just history. So we are better taking prevention measures than getting into the fire which we cannot extinguish.
Okay, I think it's very, very clear what you have said. And I like the key point that you made, that political parties should not stop preparing for these by-elections. No one was told not to prepare. And preparing for the by-elections is different from the actual by-election taking place. I think that's a very important and key point. And then, obviously, there's the issue that you raised now, that our health system is not as good. So if something was to go wrong and there's an outbreak because of these elections, then we won't be able to cope. Is there anything that I left here from what you just said?
You only maybe left that we would like to thank the Creator who spared us the chop of this pandemic. If it came in full force the way it came to South Africa or to USA or to UK, I think we were going to see mass deaths. So we should really thank the Creator. And any efforts to ensure that people are safe is welcome by Zimbabwe People's Party. We are not about power and just participating in elections for the sake of being seen that there is a political party out there. We are more concerned about public safety as well, because we are part of the public, because ZPP is not was not formed by decorated politicians like Kasukuere, ED, and those BT and Mnangagwa. We are the general public. We live in the ghetto. So if anything comes to us, it affects the ZPP much more than it would affect those decorated politicians who can go to South Africa to get treatments. We are just members of the ghetto. So we really want any preventive measures to be taken, any precautions. We welcome them. The debt will come, and when it comes, we'll get into the ring seriously and in a manner that these political parties, which have been in existence, have never seen. We've got some strategies that they cannot contain.
Okay. Mr. Jaison Midzi, Communications Director for the Zimbabwe People's Party. And I had forgotten the question that I always want to ask you. Have you guys made any decision on who's going to be your presidential candidate for 2023?
Yeah, it's a very good question, that one, Mr. Gambakwe. What happens in ZPP is that we understand that Zimbabwe has an acute leadership failure. It doesn't mean that we don't have leaders in Zimbabwe. We have so many leaders, but no one has scouted them. It's like in soccer, if you go to Islanders only and you think that's where you built your national team from, without checking Caps, Dynamos, Platinum, whatever, or other teams, then you won't come up with the best team that can change the country. So ZPP is in a process of consulting people in their wards and constituencies, because people are better when they govern themselves. People are better when they govern constituencies they live in, not they once lived in. This is the problem we are having in Zimbabwe at the moment. Someone who lives in Borodale is an MP in Buhera because he was born in Buhera, but is no longer staying in Buhera. So ZPP, we are going around the nation looking for leaders. And we are not going to quickly just say this is the presidential candidate. We are looking at people who are joining ZPP. We give them tasks to do, which are people-oriented. We see whether they can complete those tasks. We check their competence, because a country is not run by numbers, it's run by competence. So we are looking at the most hardworking party member. That will be the person who is going to be declared the presidential candidate, because we don't have a position called the president in the party structures. But when there are elections, we choose a representative that we deploy to the elections, and we choose on merit, not on votes, or like primary elections, because strategically we found out that parties that infiltrate other parties like ZANU-PF or MDC whatever, or Mavambo whatever, they can attend your primary elections and buy them out using money, and they end up leading your political party. So the issue of merit is the tool that we are using to fend off infiltration. If you are an infiltrator and you are performing, you are producing our results, thank you so much. You are welcome. But if you're an infiltrator and you sit on the results, we fire you overnight. That's our policy. Our policy, no primary elections. Your primary election is what you are producing in your corner in the party. So anyone can be the presidential candidate. Of course, there are issues that will come into play here, Mr. Gambakwe. Issue number one is, have you given chances to women? Are women given chances in other political parties actively? You look at the MDC. Do they have a strong female candidate? No. ZANU-PF? No. So ZPP, should we also go with a male candidate? It might not be the case for 2023. We would also want to consider other groupings to empower other people like the women, the disabled, and other groups, so that everyone has a chance to be the president of Zimbabwe. It's not just for a small group of people. So there are a lot of issues which shall come into play. At the moment, I can safely say and correctly say we haven't chosen the presidential candidate. We are still looking at the people we have to see who is the most hardworking, who can do the job for Zimbabwe.
Right, that was very clear, and I don't want us to go any further. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
I would like to inform all the people in Zimbabwe that they should not be disturbed by the so many Facebook pages that they are seeing which are written ZPP. Those are your offices to forward your complaints about the problems that are happening in your constituencies. Because when we win as ZPP and we form government, we ensure that every constituency and every ward has an office for the councillor and an office for the MP, where people walk in and get services like justice of peace or commission of oath, things like free internet, things like certifying documents, and also other information about the constituents and what's happening in government and the constituents' duties that the MP is going to take to parliament. So we want to ensure that leadership is close to the people, and we are using any means available to us. If social media is available to us, like right now, we've already put those pages for you to take them as your offices to start learning to forward your problems. As soon as we win any constituents in ZPP, with or without government money, we shall build a constituents office. If our MP if Parliament is not sitting in Harare, our MP will be in that building, in their constituents, talking to people, because those are the people who elected them. If the Parliament is sitting, the MP will be in Harare, and there will be assistants in that office. So that's our policy, and we are implementing it at party level, so that at national level, if we win any ward or constituents, you will see that happening.
Right, Mr. Midzi, I really enjoyed talking to you this week, and I hope that we'll be able to talk again this weekend with a bigger group. Thank you very much, Mr. Midzi. And to those who want to contact you, your WhatsApp number is on the screen. And you are welcome to contact Mr. Midzi for any issues to do with ZPP. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much.